Good evening, everyone. I wanted to talk one last time about the 2024 presidential election and then put it aside because we've got a lot of other subjects to go over that explain how we got to where we found ourselves in November of 24. Excuse the change in lighting. I didn't get out here till this evening, working on my mom's antique writing box she got as a wedding gift. See if I can take a little age off of its 50-year existence and 3 boys growing up in the house. We'll see what we can do. Last time we asked the question, why would anybody vote for Donald Trump? And I think we answered that effectively, not voting for him or maybe voting against him. So we have to ask the question, why would anyone in their right mind vote for Kamala Harris? Well, I think we hit some similar situation with that. But one that I think is primary is Kamala Harris represents, ironically enough, the intellectual side of the argument. I know. That is irony, but she is, we discussed symbols before, and she is symbolic of that. She is the symbol for the considered thinking side of the political aisle. Now, if I'm wrong here, I don't think anybody actually thinks that Kamala Harris is that Look, if you listen to the words that come out, if you understand the words that are coming out of her mouth, and you think, oh, yeah, you know what? I've heard some things that consistently show me that she is a brilliant woman. Hey, write them down in the comments. Let me know. But I don't think anybody actually thinks she's a super genius. She just represents it. Just another symbol that represents that considered smart side of the aisle. And Democrats and Republicans have traded sides on that over the years. Republicans were big business, thinking intellectuals, etc. The Democrats have taken that back over. I think part of that is because of secondary education. They are the Ivy League party while also standing up for the little guy. So I'm not sure how that works. I'm union, but highly educated and born into rich families, and I care about your job at the factory. It's a thin line, but that's what politicians do. They walk thin lines. I think the university system has helped with that. You pop kids into school, you convince everybody they need to go to school, take out a federal loan or get a federal grant, go to a school that caters to 18 to 22-year-olds. And of course, that's the age where you start getting involved or interested in politics. And if you've got a bunch of professors there that can say exactly what you want the kids to think, throw out critical thinking, and just start sharing opinions, it's a perfect place to build a political party. And look, colleges are a great place to get an education when it is critical thinking. But when you've got some old professor who's never been in the real world, I'm sure they can teach history or basic science. Just don't go interpreting either of them. But for some old a professor who's never been in the real world teaching business or law, I had them 30 years ago. They were doing this. And I went to, we'll just say, an extraordinarily conservative school. And they were still doing that. They were starting to do that back then, just telling us what to think, not how to look up information and figure it out for ourselves. That builds your credibility as the intellectual party because you've been told that all through school. Republicans, on the other hand, hey, they help. They help the situation. You know why? Because they're labeled as anti-vaxxers or climate deniers. And that's playing with definitions. If you object to the COVID-19 vaccine because it came out very quickly and you were forced to take it with very little testing, the way you can turn that political is just say, well, you're an anti-vaxxer. Well, I've had polio vaccines. I've had shingles vaccines. I've had, you may go and get flu vaccine every year. But if you raise a question about the efficacy of a brand new vaccine, which CDC later told us the efficacy is pretty darn low on those things, you're labeled as an anti-vaxxer. Same thing with climate change and questioning exactly how much effect mankind has in that and how much is a natural cycle in the global environment. That's a way to say you're not intellectual. You don't think. You just say, no, that ain't it. Leave me and my truck alone. Tune. Right? It works. All right? It works. Donald Trump doesn't help. When he gets up and he calls people names and he says some of the things that he does, these reactionary things at his rallies, that does not help. And, making up names about your opponents in politics is nothing new. Mudraking has been around forever, throwing somebody's name around, making up names that stick with people. Rush Limbaugh used to do that all the time. And it works. You're appealing to the public. They remember what you're saying, and you're creating an opinion as well. Is it the right way to go? Well, politically, it is a way. It's a tactic to get your loyalty and to make it seem that you see things eye to eye. One of the problems with it is you're only speaking to your core constituency. You're speaking to people who are probably going to vote for you anyway. So what's the point? I'm not sure why you would do all of that just to talk to one side or the other, rather than people who might be in the middle going, gosh, are you people thinking, or are you just trying to control us and what we're thinking? I don't know. But doing the name calling, I don't mean to dump on Trump, and I don't think anybody thinks that Trump is stupid. He's obviously a very accomplished man. He's done a lot in his life. He can speak on many, many different subjects. And hey, when you sit and listen to him and cut through the excitable language or his speech style, which at times comes off like I joke, like a Chinese menu, the adjectives that he throws around and the positives. Oh, it's good. We're the greatest. We're, this is the way to go. But if you listen to him from the other side's point of view, consider it this way. Take quotes of Donald Trump's and put it up against George Will or PJ O'Rourke. You're never going to confuse who was who. You're going to say, oh, that was Donald Trump right there. That was Donald Trump. And so that doesn't help the situation with people who vote for Kamala Harris, thinking that they are the intellectual side. And by the way, those of you who are in the club, who are in the intellectual club, you've gone to the right schools, gotten the right degrees, whatever may be the case, don't get too comfortable. They will try to get you out as well. They do. I mean, one way to get out of the club is speak the wrong way. Donald Trump was part of the group, and he didn't suddenly become dumb or unsuccessful or anything else. He changed his tune, changed his party, and once you quit, it's like quitting Scientology or any other cult. Once you're out, you are persona non grata forever and ever and ever. And just having money and being successful is not going to save you. Look at high tech. Hey, high tech people, for the most part, Democrat Party loves them. And it is you scratch my back, I scratch your back. Politics as usual. It works great. Elon Musk was a darling of the left back when he was just making electric cars and saving the world from us. But as soon as he started talking about freedom of speech, true freedom to write what you want, that's where he was kicked out of the party, and he'll be gone forever. And no matter how you vote, you should be concerned when anyone wants the government to try to control what is written. Grab a history book. Okay? That's all I can say on that. But they're already success, money, education. That's not enough. They're getting too many people in the group now that they've had everybody go to college. So they need to separate themselves. And the spokespersons for the Democrat Party have already started it. Sharon Stone came out bravely behind Alec Baldwin, who said, the American public, it's just disgusting. They're so ill-informed. They're so ignorant. They don't know anything about the world. Sharon Stone jumped in bravely after him and said, yeah, look at Americans. 80% of them don't even have a passport. If you don't travel, you don't know what the world is like. You don't understand anything. Excuse me? Pardon me? Miss Sharon Worldly Stone? I've seen celebrities travel. When you go to the Riviera and you eat at a restaurant none of us could afford to even walk past, when you go on VIP vacations and meet with other VIPs and have servants and everyone else doing pages and aides, doing everything for you. I've seen you travel. You travel just like if you're living in LA. People adoring you everywhere. You're not learning. You're not seeing what real life is like for the average citizen of any of these countries. You don't know what it's like to be the average Spaniard any more than Hilaria Baldwin knows. So don't give us that garbage that we are ignorant because we don't travel. Well, I got news for you. A lot of us travel. When I travel, I love to see how other people live. I've traveled all 50 states. I get to go all over the country, and I'm very blessed for that. Anywhere I go, I look for local food. I look for local adventures. What do the locals do? I want to see how other people live. It's interesting. It's fascinating. And it opens up different things to me, different experiences. I've gotten to do that in other countries as well and plan to continue to do so. But the idea of going to a third world country in order to determine what my social mores or my quality of life expectations should be, or what type of government I should live under, is ridiculous. You've got that here. It's make it better here. Learn, think. And by the way, you don't have to actually travel if you want to look for some of those data. You can look it up on the internet. Read instead of play a game. But the idea that a celebrity going overseas and being treated like a celebrity somehow makes them more qualified to tell us how to vote. Well, come on, look at the source. Sharon Stone, you've made a career from 3/4 of a second of one scene in one movie. I don't know how. I've never seen you act in any other role. You just stand there and say some lines. Sam Raimi, what were you thinking? Come on, pal. You can do better. So we've got the intellectual side. Republicans don't help the matter. Trump doesn't help the matter. Democrats see themselves as the considered intellectual side. That is a fact. They were also warned that Trump was going to be litigious. Once he got into office, he was going to use the courts to stamp down human rights, destroy everything in its wake, wreck the court system, which is ironic, given that the man has literally been drugged through the courts for the last 4 years, and he was in courts while he was president the first time. The threat was constant. The use of the court system in presidential elections really got its big boost with in 2000 with Al Gore, and it's continued every time. Hillary Clinton used it. It wasn't used this time. That was interesting. I think everybody just said, you know what? Kamala Harris lost, and that's just the way it is. But the threats that he was going to be litigious, I think, pushed people to vote for Harris. And then there's the feelings. You've got folks in this country who are we'll say empathetic, but they feel their way through many instances, and that's fine. We've got to have feelings. We've got to have empathy for other people. You've got to be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes, but you've got to be responsible about it. You have to go all the way through and ask yourself the tough questions. It's not just, we should all give that person money, or we should forgive this college debt, or we should contribute funds to X, Y, Z. You have to dig in and ask, why do X, Y, and Z need those funds? Why is college so unaffordable and college debt out of hand? What are we getting for that investment? Why is food so expensive? Why are some people successful and other people aren't? Instead of asking those questions, it's about trying to make everyone equal. Everyone below the Sharon Stone level, of course. Make everyone equal across the board. Well, we'll explore later how well that works. But the feelings are another thing that Republicans don't appeal to them very successfully these days. They don't explain themselves very successfully. And the Democrat Party does a great job, if nothing else, just stirring the feelings up and getting that pot broiling to get people excited about voting for them. It doesn't necessarily dig down into what are the solutions behind these feelings, as long as we've got the emotions going. And it works. For a political party, it works wonderfully. And it gets the excitement and the votes that they need. So far, both of them do a fair job. Obviously, we've got society split. Each gets about half of the popular vote in this country. Those feelings do, I think, put Democrats on a different plane than Republicans. Different. Not better, not worse. Different. You're looking at the same situation from a different, totally different perspective than the other party does. And guess what? That's exactly where the parties want us, on different planes. So we don't see things eye to eye. We're torn apart so that we support anything that's thrown at us from Washington, D.C. Oh, we can complain, we can bitch and moan, but the reality is nothing changes there. When someone breaks the law, when someone twists our system of government, there's a lot of sound bites, there's a lot of promises, but nothing ever changes. It just gets further and further out of our control. I think the way we start to take that back is the first step is to quit being Harris gals and MAGA men or whatever. I'm not trying to be sexist, gender specific either way. Quit worshiping your candidate. Quit looking at your golden calf and worshiping that. You vote for someone who sees things the way you do. And that's on a promise. Your vote is earned by them on a promise. And you have to hold them to that promise. And the number one promise from a candidate from either side should be American priorities first. And I don't mean a few Americans in LA traveling the world bad-mouthing us. I don't mean the number of Americans fleeing LA because of various criminal actions. I mean us, regular Americans. We should be priority number one. And you have to hold your candidate, win, lose, or draw, to those promises. That's the only way your vote works. While you're out there holding them to that, just remember, the left lane is for passing only.